Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to see you here. My name is Elena Ibraiva, and I'm an associate professor of practice at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln at the management department. And I have 35 years of experience teaching undergraduate and graduate classes and courses at the university level. Also, in my life, I've been teaching online for about 20 years. So I was one of the first pioneers to start teaching online in 1999, actually. And I went through several different platforms such as WebCT, Desire to Learn, then also Blackboard, and then recently Canvas. I really enjoy Canvas and how it works. I only have one pet peeve about Canvas, and it's how clumsy the discussion boards are, especially in my online graduate classes. I use discussion boards as content assignments. So they're to kind of provide the learning community and transparency. And so I think that these discussion boards should be organized a little bit better. Let's say even Blackboard had a little bit better discussion board function. So today I'm going to talk with you guys about my small assignment, which is Living Your Best Life blog in a big introduction to management class with 300 students. I have 300 students for this fall semester. It is an online class. And several years ago, I kind of came up with this idea that if you want to be a very good teacher, you really have to watch three developments. One is content, another one is pedagogy, and then of course technology. And so today we will be talking about Canvas. And actually the biggest challenge is to come up with the sweet spot, kind of with the intersections of all these three areas. And then you will be a very good teacher. And it's only recently I actually found out that there is a theory about finding the sweet spot between these three areas. So it's a well-formulated theory. We even had a presenter at one of our teaching center presentations at the university who talked about the intersections or finding the sweet spot among these three areas. And so what no matter where you teach, is it high school level or community college or university, you can be a good teacher if you are looking at this intersection between these three areas. And like in this journal, what I'm asking students, I'm asking them once a week to write down 5 positive events that happen in their life. Then also write one thank you letter to someone. It doesn't have to be sent, but a lot of miracles are happening actually when you are sending these emails out. And then also I'm asking them to discuss one networking contact that they have done throughout the week to foster their career and foster their strategic networking. So again, going back to the intersection between the three areas, you should start with the content and with the use of frameworks. Research on pedagogy shows that students learn the best when there are frameworks, when there are some models that they need to learn. And the problem or the difference between the expert and the novice is that novices, they do not have this well-established connections between various concepts in their brains. And so if we use frameworks, if we help to establish these connections, for example, by using concept maps and asking students to develop concept maps, that is helping them to become an expert, because then they see how various concepts and theories in the field relate to each other. And so in regards to this assignment, I used Shelley Gable's active constructive responding model. Shelley Gable is a well-known psychologist, and she came up with this model that there are 4 different types of responding when a positive event happens, but it also can be a negative event. The bottom line is in this theory that we are better off building relationships, building networks, if we respond in an active and constructive way, because then we are actually becoming better leaders, we're becoming better managers. And actually YouTube has a very wonderful 5 minutes video kind of role playing all of these 4 different types of responses. The 3 other responses, which is passive constructive or active destructive, passive destructive, they simply do not make the cut in you becoming a better leader or becoming a more resilient, optimistic person. And so that is the idea that I want to convey to my students. Another kind of the content foundation is that positive psychology found that writing a gratitude letter increases one's sense of happiness and life satisfaction. Noticing and focusing on positive things also makes a big difference if you do it consistently. Google managers found, they actually did a lot of research, and they found that grateful employees tend to have better long-term job satisfaction compared to employees who are low on gratitude scale. Very often now companies even ask people, you know, how many days a week do you wake up happy? And if the number is less than 5, they don't even want that person, because research found that your life satisfaction then spills over to your job satisfaction. And these are the skills that I want to develop among my students. And I'm actually noticing, you know, with all of my experience, that our young students, our undergraduate students, they are actually quite low on being positive. They often kind of tend to focus on negative events that are happening in their life, and they don't really know how to deal with stress. And actually, to counteract that, for example, I put together 6 YouTube videos about, you know, handling stress or negativity bias. And then I'm asking students to either do a multiple choice exam as part of the exam, or maybe answer some questions in a discussion to kind of help them to realize that we all have that negativity bias. And then it requires continuous practice and intentional activities to overcome the negativity with positivity, especially now during the pandemics, that is becoming more and more important. And in addition, I actually recently developed a new interdisciplinary class, Management 817, which is called Positivity for Managers, where I put together research from positive psychology, positive organizational behavior, positive organizational scholarship, mindfulness research, happiness research. And to my surprise, that class has become so successful that the program has added a second section. So we're teaching 2 sections in a row, and we always have full enrollment, because this topic is of great interest to graduate students, but it also is of interest to, you know, the earlier you start, the better. You can even start in high school. I think that is the time to start kind of this positive psychology teaching and sharing of some of the best practices and exercises. So the pedagogy part, the second part, is how do you actually teach a skill or teach a concept? And so here I came up with this idea that really we probably have to have a journal, because journaling is a repeated practice. And the most important discovery in neuroscience is that neuroplasticity phenomenon, that if you have a focused attention and then a repeated practice of a particular skill, that actually brings about the change, the neuroplasticity change in our brain. And let's say even now, like with my husband, when we go to bed, we share like 3 good things that happen to us throughout the day. And it might be something very simple, like watching a sunset, or smelling a flower, or just enjoying a program, enjoying a video or film. It might be very small, and that kind of makes the trick. Another thing in regards to pedagogy, to make an effective teaching, you have to have that repeated practice, or I'm sorry, you actually have to do application or processing. So that's another concept from pedagogy. And why this assignment works is because students actually have to apply that concept to themselves. So that leads to a deep processing rather than shallow processing. And that is a very good pedagogical approach to use in teaching the skill. Do you guys have any questions so far or comments? Maybe somebody can voice. Okay.
There's nothing in chat yet. I think you're,
okay.
you're all good.
Hopefully you guys are with me. Okay. The third component, so when we talk about the 3 components, is technology. So that is how to create an assignment with the use of technology. And again, I will repeat here that now, let's say when I teach any class, I will say, okay, these are the bunch of concepts or frameworks that I want to cover. Then I think about creative pedagogy. And then I think, okay, what is the technology that is available? And actually, you know, I wanted to shout out to Stephen Kane and, you know, our other IT specialists, that they have been fantastic in actually helping me to find the best technology to do this interesting assignment. And so now I can say that, you know, of course, I really enjoy teaching graduate online classes because there are like maybe 40, 45 students. But even when you teach 300 students class, you still can do something very effective if you use modern technology. And so actually, I actually came to Stephen, and Stephen, I explained him the idea of this assignment, and I asked him how we are going to do journaling in Canvas. And it was, he is a brilliant specialist, and what he suggested that, okay, let's use Canvas discussion function to do this assignment. So what happens is actually that you, let's say you have 300 students in your class, you create 300 discussion boards with 1 person in that discussion forum. And the very important moment here is that to make sure that if people are getting out of your class and then added to your class, making sure that everybody has their own discussion group, or group of 1 actually. So otherwise, if some people are not in that discussion, in their own discussion forum, then they will be posting somewhere where you cannot grade effectively, and you will have to look for their journal. And so the very beautiful way this discussion is organized is that students are making entries by every Sunday, and then you as a teacher, by the end of the class, you receive a continuous stream of maybe 12 to 14 weeks submission. So you don't have to click on different files. You can see the whole journal. And also it can be graded by a teaching assistant if the class is very big. And another kind of point of caution or importance is in this class, I, for example, disable the people function from the left menu in Canvas, because what people can do is they can go to their discussion group of one, and post to the internal discussion board. And then, and as you know, in a Canvas discussion forum, those discussion boards are internal. They are designed to conduct internal team meetings and discussions, preparation and planning of the work. So they are not connected to your gradebook. But what is connected to the gradebook, if you create a discussion and everybody is in their discussion group of one, and then you can go to the speed grader, and then you can see all 300 students posting nicely their weekly assignments. Okay, what kind of student feedback I received to the journal? Many students actually commented that they look forward to noticing positive things each week, that they anticipated that event, that they were noticing and then recording their 5 events. Some students found it very uplifting to write thank you notes to others. That was a completely new practice for them. And again, I think that it kind of helped them to understand that they're not really alone in this world, that there are a lot of people who they should be thankful for. And, you know, it might have been their boss, it might have been their friend, family members, their mentors. So that was a very good experience. The most challenging aspect in my class is that students really didn't understand the importance of strategic networking, that this is the best time for them to start networking with other people, that following the idea that, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And actually my own mentor and dissertation advisor, Fred Lucens, he made a research in 80s where he studied effective managers and successful managers. And successful managers were those managers who were promoted more often and rose to the top of their organization. And so Fred studied the differences in their behaviors. And the only difference that he found is that these successful managers actually networked more often. And so that was a continuous practice for them. And that led them to their organizational success. Whereas great managers who do not network, they kind of stay in their own position within their organization, and they're not being promoted. But of course, you know, if you have an undergraduate student who is 19 or 20, that idea has not been processed yet in their brain. And so by noticing that connection and then actually practicing that skill on a weekly basis, let's say talking to the people at the career booth, going to the career fair, meeting with employers on campus, that actually helps them to network. Like I often go around our building and I see that a lot of employers are coming to visit with our students, but they're usually just not surrounded by a lot of students. So very few students actually stop and talk about their future careers. So what kind of lessons I learned from this experience? That self-reflection can be beneficial. It's not only about management or psychology. If in your discipline, there is a skill that has to be practiced and it should be repeated focused practice, you can do that journaling. You can develop that skill bit by bit, week by week. Also, that self-reflection can personalize even large classes, because very often if I had an appointment with a student and I really wanted to learn more about the student before I see the student, I could go and read, you know, what is happening in their lives, you know, how positive they are, and kind of then relate it to them during my discussion. At one point, I actually had that class with 400 students, so that was actually very helpful. Also, this self-reflection assignment can be a very good balance to multiple choice exams and automatically graded Connect or MindTap or Learn Smart assignments that are very impersonal by nature. So in this journal, people can be creative, they can apply things, so that is a big advantage. And then also people can develop their writing skills slowly but surely. So now I am stopping my sharing and hopefully to get some discussion and comments or questions from you guys. Chat. Okay. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a question. Good morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for the presentation. I teach high school Spanish. Should I encourage my upper level students to write and reflect in the target language, or do I let them be comfortable and tell me what they want in their native language? Because some of my students are mostly Spanish 1 and 2 right now, and I don't think they would have the capabilities. But would this be something you would encourage me to do in Spanish class?
I think, Kelly, thank you for your question. You know, I am a second language speaker, and when I was in Kazakhstan studying English, you know, I had the most brilliant teacher. She made us to write poems in English, even though that my vocabulary was like very, very limited. So I think that she was so innovative and so creative. It's unbelievable because she instilled that love to English language in me, you know, starting in my 5th grade. So I would say, you know, you can, for example, ask them to write a thank you letter in Spanish. That would really speed up their development.
Okay, thank you so much.
And then the additional benefit, Kelly, is that they don't have to write a lot. It can be really just one paragraph. But then it will, and also 5 good things can be in Spanish.
Thank you.
Brenda is thinking about doing this for high school art class sketchbook requirement. Absolutely. Yeah, that can be, actually, I will share with you guys another experience of mine. Let's say I teach international management, and I was actually a contributor to the GLOBE research, which is a study of 62 different cultures globally. And I was looking for some ways to teach that to my students. And actually the research is quite boring. There are 3 huge books, each is 800 pages. That was not going to work for my purpose. So what I did instead, I attended an internet conference where an architecture professor was talking how he made students to post their design projects online. And then I had an aha moment that I can use different pedagogy and different technology to use to convey that framework. So now in my international management class, I divide the class into 10 teams according to the 10 GLOBE clusters. And then each team is responsible for researching the cluster, writing about their culture, talking about their contributions to the global civilization, finding everything online, then also talking about 5 multinational companies and 3 multinational companies and 3 business leaders from that particular cluster. And I actually use Canvas page function to do that. And it works amazingly well, because by the end of the project, I have 10 beautiful, beautiful Canvas pages with a lot of, you know, pictures and words and maps. And then what students do, they they go in and read two of the cluster pages and put their comments at the bottom of the page. So, and it's very innovative, it's very creative. The only problem I have is that the Canvas pages are not graded. They're not connected to the grade book. And so I kind of avoid, deal with that problem by going into doing it a team assignment and then grading a team submission. Very good question. What best practices do you have in navigating the dysfunction in Canvas discussions? That is a problem. You know, sometimes I say, attach your files. And then because I require 2 comments, that's kind of the magic number. But then I have to click on these files to when I read them from the grade book. So every person is doing their, their discussion and then 2 comments. And for me, it's well organized, but students are struggling with that. I also use Canvas discussion board for people to post their videos. And I cannot tell you guys how, you know, I very often get the comments that students have never done videos in their classes. In my class, let's say applied organizational behavior, students have to do 2 videos. And the only way I do a workaround, I use the same Canvas discussion board. Do you know about, Karen is writing, do you know of another option to have students write in journals that are not in discussion or a personal group between the instructor and the student? Karen, actually, I was, when I was talking with Stephen, we were thinking about Slate. We were thinking about some other technology solutions, but none of them were as effective and efficient as a Canvas discussion group. So I think it actually works very well. The only problem is that in the beginning, disable the people function so the students cannot even go into their group of 1 and post to the internal discussion board. That's the only problem I have. And I kind of emphasize that at the beginning of the class. Mariam is asking, how can we use discussion boards for individual assignments as other students able to see what students are writing? Yeah, that is a very interesting question. And so it's a kind of a trade-off. In my graduate classes, I think that student-to-student learning is more important than secrecy or privacy. So everything is transparent in my classes. And another additional benefit of this, Miriam, that I want you to consider is that I have a snowballing effect. Because when students can read other posts or see other videos, they do better next time. So that is the beauty of that openness, transparency, because it leads to student-to-student learning community, and also meritocracy. Let's say in my OB class, organizational behavior class, 1 assignment when I ask them to read a book and then write their personal goals and objectives and key results, that is a private assignment where I ask students to submit their objectives and key results privately. But 7 other assignments are all open and transparent. And especially, let's say, a very good pedagogical practice is to do wrap-up discussions. And so I allow students to do either a concept map or a video or an essay. And then students can compare what they learned from each other. And that reinforces the course concepts. Okay, so it looks like we are out of time. And I attached, Stephen?
Yep, I'm going to drop a link in chat right now as well to the feedback form. If you could take a few minutes to provide feedback. Thank you, Alina, appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephen. I don't know what I would do without you and Tom and Eric and Jillian and Tanya, because it's been a great journey.
Well, you certainly champion a lot of new technologies, and it's fantastic. So thank you for all the work that you do. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. And if you